The partition of India in 1947 was one of the most defining and traumatic events in South Asian history. It marked the end of nearly 200 years of British colonial rule and led to the creation of two independent nations, India and Pakistan. The division was based on religious lines, with India intended as a secular state with a Hindu majority, and Pakistan as a separate homeland for Muslims. However, the process was far from smooth and was accompanied by widespread violence, mass migrations, and immense suffering. The roots of the partition can be traced back to the colonial era, when British policies of divide and rule deepened religious and communal divisions. The Indian National Congress, led by figures like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, pushed for independence from British rule and envisioned a united, secular India. However, the All India Muslim League, under the leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, argued that Muslims in India were a distinct community with separate cultural and political identities. By the early 20th century, tensions between Hindus and Muslims had escalated, with the Muslim League demanding a separate state for Muslims, eventually articulated as Pakistan. World War II further complicated the situation, as Britain's resources were stretched thin, and Indian demands for independence gained momentum. By 1946, communal riots and widespread violence had intensified across the subcontinent, making the idea of partition seem inevitable. In June 1947, British Viceroy Lord Mountbatten announced the decision to divide British India into two nations. The boundary line, known as the Radcliffe Line, was hurriedly drawn by British lawyer Cyril Radcliffe, who had no prior knowledge of Indian geography or culture. This hasty process created several disputes, particularly in the provinces of Punjab and Bengal, which were divided between the two nations. The partition unleashed an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. An estimated 15 million people were uprooted as Hindus and Sikhs fled to India, while Muslims migrated to Pakistan. These migrations were often chaotic and accompanied by communal violence on an unprecedented scale. Trains carrying refugees were frequently attacked, and entire villages were burned down. Women were subjected to abductions, rapes, and forced conversions, and families were torn apart. Estimates of the death toll range from 1 to 2 million, making it one of the largest and bloodiest forced migrations in history. The aftermath of partition left deep scars on both nations. Pakistan was divided into two regions, West Pakistan, present-day Pakistan, and East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, separated by over 1,000 miles of Indian territory. This geographical separation, along with ethnic and linguistic differences, later led to the Bangladesh Liberation War in 1971. Meanwhile, India faced the challenge of integrating princely states, rehabilitating millions of refugees, and maintaining communal harmony. The partition also created lasting tensions between India and Pakistan, particularly over the disputed region of Kashmir, which both countries claimed. This territorial conflict has led to multiple wars and continues to strain relations between the two nations. The legacy of the partition remains contentious, with some viewing it as a necessary step for Muslim self-determination and others seeing it as a tragic failure of leadership and diplomacy. Despite the passage of time, the memories of the partition's violence and displacement continue to resonate in South Asia, shaping cultural narratives, political relations, and individual identities.